How do my eyebrows look? All right, I think I'm fine.
You good?
I'm ready for my close-up.
What's up, Dad?
Hey.
So you might know we're making Dominoes, and I wanted to make this video to kind of tell the whole story of how this happened and why we're making Dominoes, and yeah.
It's a journey. It's educational. It's exciting.
So this is episode 1 of a whole series where I've documented the process of us making the Dominoes. That starts once we've partnered with Spin Master, but there was a whole 3 years before that where we've been trying to get the ball rolling and actually making these Dominoes. So let's catch the viewers up. So let's start out why we even made Dominoes.
What was behind you wanting to make Dominoes in the first place?
So me and many other builders that I know have run into a lot of issues with Dominoes. Like sometimes you'll buy a batch of Dominoes and the texture won't be consistent. So you'll buy a batch and maybe it's really grippy and it doesn't slide on the floor, and then the next batch you buy is completely slippery and it just slides all over the place. And
everywhere.
Yeah, nobody was making quality, consistent Dominoes, and we were all noticing all of these weird manufacturing defects. And I knew that someone has to make these Dominoes, someone especially who knows Dominoes and is a builder and knows the needs of a builder. That's kind of where it started.
Well, the minor consistencies caused bigger issues, and we wanted to have a product that was the same kind of quality level as Lego, like a de facto world standard, without changes in texture, color, weight, dimension. You buy a yellow 6-dot Lego brick from 1975 and you buy one tomorrow, they're identical, to the molecule.
Yep.
And no one really was at that level. The few vendors that were making toppling Dominoes worldwide, just a small handful. And in addition, as it became more and more popular, you couldn't get them in retail. It was a real specialty item, and it was just time to see if we can change that.
It makes a huge difference when the people who actually use the product design the product and they know what the product needs in order to function well. It's not just my idea to make Dominoes or my input making it. I've gotten a lot of input from many other expert builders around the world, getting feedback, and together we've come up with the domino, the perfect domino.
It was a very collaborative process.
Yep.
And while Lily worked super closely with the engineers at the toy company, manufacturing engineers and product design engineers, Lily always had this group, which was the Domino Feedback Group, and they're global. And Lily would ask questions and get feedback on dimensions, on accessory aspects of the design.
Choosing the colors.
What should the color palette be?
Yep.
Moving on from this phase of manufacturing to the next, and completely took feedback. So it was a real collaboration. It wasn't just Lily doing this, it was Lily getting a lot of commentary and feedback and constructive criticism on every aspect of the Dominoes and the accessories.
Because it's important to make sure that the product that we're making is actually usable for people who are builders and also people who don't build.
So if we wanted to have our own line of Dominoes that Lily and her community developed and got to market, there were several different options. The first one is make it yourself, and a very common decision that manufacturing corporations make, whether it's a domino, make or buy. If we were to make Dominoes, we'd have to learn about plastics, we'd have to hire engineers, we'd have to get mold makers, we'd have to create the product, we'd have to warehouse and merchandise the product, we'd have to sell the product, and it's a huge investment in terms of time and money. So making it yourself is very much of an uphill battle. So we contact a company that already makes toppling Dominoes, and we wanted to work closely with them and not just make H5 toppling Dominoes, but talk to us and just work with us. Let's make a better domino together. And you know how to manufacture stuff. We see some issues, we'd like to see a better domino, let's work together. And there basically was just no interest in working with us on that, or for that matter, working with anyone in the domino community on different ideas that were pitched. Do you sell toppling dominoes? We're a domino community, let's all work together. But there just really wasn't interest in involvement.
Yeah, it was unfortunate because they didn't seem like they were really into the community. They were just making a product without listening to them.
That is
which was the
true.
main reason that it kind of fell apart in a way.
The offer was out there on different levels over a good period of time to this toppling domino maker to work with the domino community for a number of different reasons, and there just was no interest. And so then we said, well, option number 3 is partner with a toy company, not a company that makes dominoes, but just a toy company that knows how to make a product, distribute it, who already has relationships, deep relationships with retailers. They have retail space on the store shelf. They know how to market and all of the different check boxes, and also work closely with us in creating the product and work closely with us in different initiatives in the Department of Marketing, which in this case is Lily's very large social media footprint. That's part of the discussion. That's part of the value proposition when you talk to the toy companies, is that that's like a huge marketing engine. And they understood that you can sell a product through social media.
That was really the only option that we could do to make this happen. Like, we can't make dominoes ourselves.
Yeah.
We needed a toy
It
company
was
to
just
help us.
finding the right partner. So let's create a timeline. 2017.
Started at 2017. There was an event called ClamorCon, which is like a YouTube creator conference for just creators. And there's a ton of toy companies there that sponsor the event.
Right, because family space is the biggest segment of content on YouTube. It made sense that ClamorCon got toy companies to sponsor the event. And we'd already had in our mind partner with a toy company, and they were the toy companies. So I started having conversations. In fact, the very first one I spoke to was, out of coincidence, Spin Master. But this was a trade show booth, and a very important lesson. I've known it for a long time, but it really was driven home. If you want to make things work, when you partner with someone, you have to find the right person, and you have to have the right conversation. And it took a while for us to really fully understand that, but at the same time, the conversation got better as time went on because Lily's social media footprint got bigger over those several years.
I think we also more understood what we were trying to pitch to them. As we had these ideas, it kind of developed through time.
Yeah, we got better at having the conversation.
And eventually we did find a few different toy companies who were potentially interested. The first one, we actually got pretty far. Like, we had packaging, mock packaging ready, we had colors chosen. We were thinking of ideas of how to promote the dominoes, but it sort of fell apart.
Well, that's an interesting case study for business. We, Hevish Five, the two of us, were not able to work directly with the corporation, the toy company. We were working through an agency, and there was someone who was the middleman and wanted to, keep control. So we never were able to form a deep relationship and have good conversations with this particular toy company. It wasn't a huge toy company, but it was still a good-sized toy company nevertheless. And they didn't really fully understand the social media aspect of productization and moving a product and moving it in retail.
I think they thought they knew how to make a domino really
Right.
well without needing a lot of my input, but they weren't really receptive to our ideas.
No, they weren't. The thing is, they know the toy industry, but we know what dominoes are all about.
Yeah.
And they were kind of insulted, like, we know what this is. We know how to do this.
It's way more complicated
There was
than a rectangle.
a 1-hour conversation, and they complained to the middleman at the agency that should have been a 10-minute conversation. No, there is no 10-minute conversation when you're trying to create a relationship and talk about what's the value proposition to the market, what's the value proposition to the broad market, which is 95% of the market. What do you do, and how do you work with the domino enthusiasts, which is maybe only 5% of the market, but they're still a very important community. Things fell apart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they weren't the right fit.
Then we talked to another toy company. Now we're at 2018. We talked to another toy company who a friend of ours had referred us to.
But they were kind of unsure about it. They didn't know if they could really sell a lot of dominoes, so they wanted us to do a Kickstarter to
Yeah,
kind of like
Kickstarter.
prove that there's a demand for it, which was kind of a weird thing. Like, we don't want to do a Kickstarter. Like, we know there's a demand. We just need to make it happen with a toy company.
And this is also a very different kind of product. This is low margin, high volume. A lot of these,
Yeah.
and you have limited return on revenue, but it's volume, and that's how things work with Amazon and Walmart and so on. Okay, now cut to 2019, February, because all this other stuff happened at the end of 2018. So now it's 2019, and we go to the International Toy Fair in New York City.
Which you may have seen the vlogs on this channel previously.
Anyway, we talked to a whole bunch of different companies, some very large toy companies, some smaller European-based toy companies, and just pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch.
We brought Dominoes to them being like, this is our idea, this is what we want to do.
Well, this is what's available now. We want to make a better one. Are you interested? There's a huge market opportunity. And that led me to what's the pitch? I'd go in and say, I want you to meet Lily. Lily's the #1 domino artist in the world. She's done projects for television, for movies, for the music industry.
All right, okay, thanks.
And I would promote her, and she's always going, that's not being cocky. So I had a pitch and, collect business cards and have follow-up conversations, but nothing really ever came of it. But I did go to the Spin Master booth and I talked to some people there. They referred me to some people who were in the team of the Inventor Relations Group in Toronto, which is where Spin Master's headquartered. I got absolutely no traction. So it was late at night, 1 o'clock, and I just said, okay, I'm gonna find who to talk to, and I'm gonna have the right conversation. So I did. I went and did some research on Google, went to spinmaster.com, went to LinkedIn, and I said, this is the guy to talk to. And I sent him a blind email, and I was convinced he was the right guy, and I put together a 3 or 4 paragraph email that said, this is an opportunity for a major toy company to get in there, be the first to market, because no one is doing this. We have a social media influencer who's all paths Dominoes lead to her, and we'll work with you and use social media to promote the product. And within half a day, he had assigned it to someone at the Cardinal Games division of Spin Master, who happens to be the #1 domino maker, the dotted dominoes with the dots. And so now you have a company that that's in that space. And he assigned to another guy who ran into the president of Cardinal division and said, this is a great opportunity, let's talk to these people. And that's basically how it happened.
Yeah.
And we had a conference call with the president, I think the next day. Then things took a little bit of a slow period because of just they were doing toy industry events all over the world. Picked the conversation back up. We talked to like 9 or 10 toy companies at Toy Fair 2019.
The whole pitching process was so long. Like, I remember spending hours and hours and just trying to find the right words of how to pitch this to people, explaining very clearly what we want, how we can make a better domino, how I can use my platform on YouTube and social media to push the product and try to convince these toy companies that there's a real opportunity here. And after many emails of failed attempts and phone calls with various companies, we finally landed on Spin Master.
Well, #1 lesson is don't give up. But the #2 lesson is find the right person, have the right conversation.
And listen. Just listen. Whether that's listening to the people who are building dominoes or the experts in the field, being involved in the process is so important.
And we couldn't have found a better partner. They've worked really, really closely with us.
Yeah, they've been great. So that leads us to the next few episodes in the series where we go through the process of how we made the dominoes with Spin Master. It's like a year-long journey, but I'll break it into sections.
Tune in, don't miss it.
Yeah, if it's up, it's probably over here. Or here. This side.
It's
left side. It's mirrored.
It's here.
Yes, you can click on it.
Right there.
Thank you all for watching.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
And I need to think of a new outro. That was the wrong channel, Dad. We're on Behind the 5. On this channel, I need to think of a new outro.
That's not a good outro, what you just said.
But that's my outro.
I have to think of a new outro?
Yeah,
She has to think of a new outro.
I did.
She will.